So here we're going to be transplanting Peruvian Black Mint, Huacatay.
Huacatay.
Huacatay. That probably sounds like some racist impersonation of how someone would say it, but the alternative is me saying Huacatay. Anyway, I'll show you how I transplant them and how I seed them, and basically my anecdotal sort of findings with growing them in general. Started these in trays, but it seems to me like they do pretty good direct sowing, just directly into the ground. They do get a little finicky about transplanting with, I don't know if it's from damaging the roots, but they don't respond as good as maybe some other plants in my experience. So I grew these all the time back in the day, but it's been a while. So hopefully I can remember everything correctly, but back then I would have actual Peruvians telling me, oh, it needs shade, it can't have any sunlight at all. But I grew the biggest ones and they were in full sun. So I think it mostly depends probably on if it's getting enough water and if it's been acclimated to that sunny spot correctly, hardened off, whatever you want to call it. So because these were in shade, I wouldn't take this newly transplanted one and put it right here. I would either take it to sort of a transitional period area, which this will change during the day, you know, as the earth rotates. So the shade here right now isn't going to be the shade here in the morning and evening. Or if you don't mind picking them up, putting it in the sun just for, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, and increasing that every day, putting them back until you can eventually put them out there for good. That's kind of just with plants in general, I guess. If you slowly introduce it to it, I've had, some in the Florida summer, direct sun, absolutely thriving. So that'll also depend, as with any plant, on the soil type you use. This does seem kind of like a weedy, just kind of almost prefers crap soil sometimes. So I've had some success with the Florida gray sand, just straight in the ground with a little fertilizer, whatever. But for the sake of transplanting to pots, I've put together some potting mix, which is mostly from the recipe I made in the video that I'll probably link below on my channel. But the usual peat moss, decently heavy on the perlite, and a little bit of this other potting mix mixture that we got in bulk that kind of sucked. That was more sandy. Seems to be doing all right. I usually just put a natural high nitrogen all-purpose fertilizer. Since you're not getting the fruit out of it, you don't really need a whole lot of phosphorus and potassium. You need some anyway just for the growth, but it's not something I focus on. If I'm gonna fertilize it, I'll usually just focus on the nitrogen, which is the first number, and the NPK. That more so dictates the overall growth, the greenness. Started to forget basic things about gardening since I've been clearing out some of the trees. So first up, I got 1.75 gallon pots, I think. Put a little bit of a hole for the root right here. Very carefully, I try to start from the seed tray and at the side where I can get my fingers all the way down around it. And if it's really close to another one, I'll even take my finger and pre-define the outer area of where this root system will probably be. I hate these trees. I don't know why there's these little dividers in between, but there's no other seedlings around here, so I can kind of just make more of a clear divide. So I grab in there, and once I feel like I got most of the root ball, I'll do this like Parkinson's shake so that I can try to get the roots out without having them rip apart from the other ones. Lose a good amount of soil this way, but I do notice it hangs on to a lot more roots. You wouldn't be able to see it, but when I do this, I can feel a lot less crunching from the roots. When you transplant, you can feel in your fingers when the roots are all crunching out. It's also why when I transplant these, sometimes I try not to have the soil too wet before, which is usually a big no-no, but more water in the soil will weigh it down and I'll be able to do this as good. Now this soil mixture that's going into has been a little bit prehydrated, but could further add a little bit of water to the actual hole to fill this up. We'll take off these bottom branches so that it's not touching the soil immediately. People mostly hear that, with tomatoes not having any of the bottom branches or leaves touching the soil, but I kind of use that in general for a lot of plants. If it's constantly touching the soil, that's how you'll get most of your fungal diseases, especially when the rain or water drops and splashes the soil back up, basically giving it a long-term permanent contact to the soil, which is connected to all the ground around. Granted, a potting mix is mostly sterilized. I still rip a few of them off. Fill it in a little bit. Be gentle with this because, like I said, they don't respond very good to transplanting in my experience. I'll go ahead and take this off at least so it's not touching. I also noticed, regardless of if you're using Florida gray sand, crappy soil, or potting soil, these can wilt extremely hard during the day rapidly. You might freak out, but it does respond very well to, if you miss a watering, you give it a good late afternoon soak. At night, they bounce right back. These are quite small, so I'll put this in a pot that I had direct seeded that didn't sprout anything. So this small and delicate, you can just go up and down, shake it like this, doing the same type of shake, and you can usually wiggle them out. See, this is a little bit too wet right here. So keeping all that root. Normally I'd wait till they're a little bit bigger than this. This is a bit small for a transplant, but while I'm at it, let's see. Especially with those ones being that delicate, since I don't want to run and turn my shallow well on or use the watering can. Use my other little watering device where I just poked a few small holes. And where are the holes? You just squeeze it, get a little bit of water out that I need just for seeds or small transplants. All right, now let's go over and seed some in a raised bed. So seeding this is great because a few of the branches give you so many seeds, and come in these little pods that will separate and give you these extremely small, like specks, which are the seeds. Let me see if I can get a single one here. I dropped it basically on the tip of my, these are a couple right here. These are a couple on my finger. Just teeny black seeds. So what you could do is you could just take a branch, go to wherever you're going to seed it, do some more shaking, and you might not see them, but seeds are falling everywhere. You're gonna have so many seeds from this that if you have too many, you can just pull the excess out and either plant them somewhere else or just thin it how you like. Because these are so small, I don't ever cover the seeds with any soil. Just water them in and the water will kind of push it down to whatever your medium is. For direct sowing, I will, at least on the top layer, have a more fluffy and finer mixture, even if it's just the top layer, for the seed to kind of sprout a little easier, like a seed mix. And then underneath this, I have all the almost like a hugelkultur thing, just stuff. Like I said, it'll even grow in this Central Florida-ish gray sand.